a boy from a small village, born into poverty. Yet his dreams were so big that he abandoned the roads of the earth and chose the skies as his path. In 1960s Mexico, while people sweated in the fields, one name was quietly rising so high that it shook the entire system. Police, politicians, and border guards were all confused. Where was the cargo coming from? But behind every shipment, there was only one mind: Pedro Avilés Pérez. People called him El León de la Sierra, the Lion of the Mountains. A lion who, for the first time, turned the drug trade into an empire of planes and helicopters. A lion under whose shadow stood the very men who would go on to create Mexico's most powerful cartels. But this story is not just about wealth and power. It is the tale of a man who rose from poverty and became a measure of fear itself. And just when he made his empire unshakable, came the day when the curtain on his reign fell forever. The Sierra Madre Mountains were silent that night. The moonlight fell on jagged rocks, and in a small village below, everything slept. From this forgotten corner of Mexico, a boy was born, Pedro Avilés Pérez. His childhood carried only one truth: scarcity. Food was never enough, clothes were worn out, and dreams were only dreams. But inside Pedro burned a fire that made him different from every other boy in that village. He watched men sneak small bundles across the border. They returned with a little money, enough to survive. To others, this was survival. But to Pedro, it was a key, a glimpse of another world. He took his first step into smuggling. Small quantities, small risks. But in his mind, a dangerous question grew. If this path can change a man's life, what happens if I take it further than anyone else ever dared? The roads were dangerous. Police checkpoints, border patrols, betrayals. But the sky was open. The sky was free. Pedro befriended pilots, paid them well, and learned their secrets. Slowly, he gained access to small aircraft. At first, he rented them. Later, he managed to get his own through trusted partners. With wings, his vision became reality. The boy who once fought poverty on the ground was now preparing to rule the skies. Pedro's empire took flight. Small planes disappeared into the night, loaded with marijuana, and later, cocaine. They landed on hidden airstrips across the U.S. No checkpoints, no guards, no questions, just profit. Every successful flight built his legend. He was no longer just a smuggler. He was becoming El León de la Sierra, the Lion of the Mountains. But Pedro knew survival wasn't only about planes. On the ground, he built his web of influence. Local police, politicians, even military officers, all found themselves in his pocket. Some accepted money. Others feared him. Either way, they worked for him. And Pedro wasn't alone. Around him, young men watched and learned. Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, Rafael Caro Quintero, Ernesto Fonseca Carrillo. They were not just his partners. They were his apprentices. Under Pedro's shadow, they sharpened their claws. For Pedro, this was more than business. It was legacy. He wasn't just building an empire. He was creating the next generation of lions. But with each flight, with each bag of cocaine, one truth became darker and louder. The higher you fly, the closer you are to the fall. Why did Pedro choose this path? Why risk everything? The answer was buried in his childhood: hunger, poverty, and a system that had failed him. For him, smuggling was not crime. It was survival. It was rebellion. It was proof that he would never be trapped by the soil that starved his people. Money brought power. Power brought fear. And fear was respect. Pedro often told his men, "A lion always lives surrounded by danger. But danger never stops the lion from ruling the jungle." He knew his life was a gamble. But for Pedro, every risk was worth the reward. His empire wasn't just about wealth. It was about sending a message. The poor boy from Sinaloa had turned himself into a ruler the whole region whispered about. Yet deep inside, he knew, the faster the climb, the sharper the fall. A night like any other, until the silence broke. Engines roared. Searchlights cut through the darkness. Authorities had launched an operation. Pedro was with his men when the trap closed in. The air was filled with shouts, footsteps, and the metallic echo of rifles. The lion was cornered. Pedro tried to escape, but bullets filled the night sky. The clash ended with him wounded, collapsing to the ground. In that moment, El Leon de la Sierra fell silent forever. But death was not the end of his story. His apprentices, Gallardo, Quintero, Fonseca, took his empire, expanded it, and created something the world had never seen before: the Guadalajara Cartel. Mexico's first true drug cartel. Pedro Avilés Pérez was gone, yet his shadow remained. Every cartel that rose after him carried a part of his blueprint. His story is not just about crime. It's about a boy who rose from hunger, who ruled the skies, and who became a legend even in his downfall.
The case may be closed, but criminology never sleeps. Like and subscribe at Join Criminology and step deeper into the dark with us.